Ooh. What's up, people? It's Mr. Dore back again with another podcast. I hope everyone's fit and well. And yes, 24 hours, well, less than 24 hours after Postecoglou got sacked as Nottingham Forest manager. Like I said before, do get Des Oldham's opinion on everything. We know Des, before he got sacked, he wasn't a fan of him. And now Des can say how he feels about Mr. and Postecoglou's sacked at Nottingham Forest. So if you want to like this content, please do hit the like button if you can. Subscribe if you're new. And make sure everyone follows Des's socials as well, with Des's Oldham's X account and Instagram as well. It's been a long, like I said, less than 24 hours now since he's been sacked. Des, how are you feeling, my friend?
I'm not quite sure, to be honest. I'm not jumping through hoops about it because the situation's pretty dire. It had to happen. That was the harsh reality of the situation. But there's lots of things I've seen during Ange's stay, which have made me sort of think that there's potential there. Of course, I've been saying for months as a flippant fan of a different team, because I'm allowed to be. I've been saying he was the biggest forward in football, which I'm not. From what I've seen at Forest in the main, I've not moved too much away from. But there were glimmers there that something could happen. But the whole thing was just I use the term on my post match thing. It was an experiment that didn't work, isn't it? Wasn't it? It was obviously Marinakis and whoever advises him, the people around him, of course, Edu and such like have suggested that they could take the football to a new level, and it just hasn't happened because everybody knows the transition was too big, too quick. What they were trying to achieve, but again, I can't be happy that he's been sacked because it's not that feeling. The concern is what really covers me about Forest's situation. In the predicament they find themselves in, and the fact that a manager comes in, and even though there is a stark comparison between Nuno and Ange, that he got nothing. He got nothing from the team. He got nothing from the players, and that's really concerning right now. So, in terms of him losing his job, look, it had to happen. It wasn't the right choice in the first place. We'll go into some of the reasons why it hasn't worked, I'm sure, but it just hasn't worked. And then you get to a point where things are just getting worse game by game. I've seen a few signs the first half at Newcastle, even the first half yesterday. Some good football at Swansea and in Betis. Lots of chances at Burnley, but it's too sporadic. It's all over the place. There's no identity to this team at present, and that's not going to get us out of the predicament that we find ourselves in at the moment.
Well, like I said, like I started with an intro about the situation with Anna Postecoglou. Like I said, there's a lot of talk about like yesterday's game, managers who should come in and who should come in. That's why I got Des on today. And like I said, make sure everyone, like I said, follows Des's post match because he did one. He's on X as well. You put on YouTube yet, Des, so people can listen to it. You're not putting no content on YouTube, have you? Yeah,
I'm working on it.
You mean you're working on that? I mean, I've been asking this guy so long to put some YouTube on. Make sure everyone follows
at the minute.
There is, but there's quite a lot of people on the show as well. Colin, hope you're all my friend. People, if you want to be like Colin and be a member to my channel, please do. Kevin said it's G Day today. People, do you think there'll be an announcement today on a new manager? I've got a show later on with Dave and Pat Lally. That's at 9 o'clock as well. Kel, I hope you and Harry are all good as well. And this spot as well. I don't get how many people within him being sacked. The club is a mess, and that's the issue. We need splitting quickly. We do, Kel, 100%. Let's talk about a little bit about the games today because, well, before we do, shout out to Eve as well. Eve, I hope you're well. Long seeing him. I smashed 10K this morning. Eve, well done. If anyone wants to support Eve on a run, and she did like a 10K today, and well done on that run as well. Eve, so well done. There's one mentioning as well, and people in the chat as well. Like I mentioned yesterday on yesterday's show, when we saw the lineup as well, and I thought Tyrone's not played since and that horrible injury. Back five, no wingers. What was your first thing, Des, when you saw that lineup?
that's throw the dice, but he could have done that in different ways, and it just felt like I didn't quite understand what was going on. You did. Obviously, Murillo comes back. We're playing a team that's just beat Liverpool last week, that have probably got the confidence up. Murillo's back in the back three. He obviously likes Mamato. The three, to some extent, worked at times, and then Zinchenko's back, so he plugs a gap there. You've got Nico. So I kind of understood that. The three deep line midfielders. And then Tyro was just a different option up front. And let's be honest, everybody said this, all the pundits have said it, and we've seen it with our own eyes. We played okay in the first half. We played and to me, everybody was already on his case, although it weren't as bad as I thought it would be in the ground yesterday. There was people around me, but it wasn't thousands and thousands. I think people had just kind of given up a little bit by then. But when we was playing well, you looked at it, and whilst Tyro is obviously a shock, I said before the game, you can get at Chelsea's centre halves. And what we needed was a Tyro. We needed a fully fit, Tyro of 2 seasons ago to drag them about, to barge into them. And that's what he did for 20, 25 minutes. But we know he can't sustain that. And Ange's teams are just proving, like 2 teams now are proving that they can't sustain early pressure and carry that through to the end of a game. Because I thought it was actually a good decision on reflection, in the way we played in the first half, to go with Tyro, because he moved him about. It created space for other players, even though we didn't have an abundance of attacking talent. The usual attacking players, the wide players, such like, it worked. And where Chelsea are really strong is in the midfield when they get the ball down and they pass it around.
Yeah.
I think at either end of the pitch, they could be better, in all honesty. And I don't think they're the greatest side, although league position suggests they're decent, But in the midfield, they've got some really tidy footballers. And I know Cole Palmer weren't playing, but they've got Neto and they've got Caicedo and Fernandes, and not all of them played. But I felt the 3, Anderson, Luiz and Sangare, did a really good job in stifling them and allowing Forest to sort of play off that front foot, Tyro to push him back, Morgan Gibbs-White to link on the back of him. I'm not saying these players had particularly good games or anything like that, but it looked like a plan, and everybody's saying that there was no plan there. And my biggest criticism over Andy all the time is this one-track mind, no plan B, it's all out attack, one-on-one at the back, all these kind of things. But he did mix it up, and if Tyro strikes that ball clean, or Morgan Gibbs-White should have scored after 20 minutes, presented with a ball, and he not a bad effort, but really, he's got to be hitting the target. If that goes in, it's a different game. And it was the same at Newcastle when Wood had that chance. Goals change football matches. But what really struck me was, by missing those chances, the confidence and the conviction in Forest play just drained out of the players. Ange can't be at fault for that. Of course, it's the situation. It's the feeling. I said at the top of the show that he had to go, and this is why, because you saw confident footballers, young, eager, fiery footballers, the confidence drain out of them. There was a point in the game in 30 minutes where everything changed for me. It was the 30-minute mark, and Matt Sells got the ball in his hand, and Zinchenko went out wide, and Sells bowled it out to him quickly. And it looked like Zinchenko might sort of hit the line and drive forward. And Chelsea weren't in the game at this point. And what happened was, he looked up, and the 3 midfielders I'm just talking about, and Gibbs-White, were stood still, level with him, halfway in Forest half. And from that point, I turned to Ian next to me and said, that's the turning point. Chelsea will come into this football match now, because Forest had missed the chances, because goals change football matches, because they didn't believe in themselves anymore. Just like at Newcastle when the first goal went in, all of a sudden Chelsea got their foot on the ball. Forest midfielder got 5 yards deeper. Their technical players started playing a little bit. They weren't fantastic. Nico Williams did a good job on Garnacho, although Garnacho looked lively at time. down the other side. You know, I'm not a fan of Zinchenko. I'm not having him. I'm sorry, he's not good enough.
Everyone's not.
Anyway,
Everyone's not.
that's another issue. He's just not. He's a tidy footballer. That's all. He's not a defender. But that's where we got pushed back a little bit. We'd lost a bit of we'd lost a lot of confidence and conviction. We'd lost a bit of energy. You know, Taiwo is obviously not stretching the game at the other end of the pitch like he was in the early stages. And Chelsea just worked their way back into it. And I said to Ian again before half time, I said, I knew that would be a turning point. They had one or two opportunities of their own before the break. I said, but what'll happen is now they'll come in and they'll come out in the second, and they'll score within 5 minutes. Because football's like that anyway. It's often a game of 2 halves, but it's the way they'd worked themselves into it. The application had dropped on Forest's part, because of all those things I keep those terms: confidence, conviction, energy, and then they come out second half, and it was inevitable, wasn't it? And as soon as the first goal goes in, look, Forest shouldn't be conceding that first goal. The guy runs down the touchline, and nobody puts in a tackle. He puts the ball in. You've got 3 centre backs, and one guy stood in the middle of the 6-yard box. He shouldn't be winning that header. Easy as you like. And then you knew, as quick as one come, 2 would follow. Again, a poor goal to concede. Morato gives away a silly free kick. You can't be fouling people there. You've got to stand your ground. The wall doesn't do its job. I was a bit harsh on Matt Sells, although Matt Sells still got a good hand to it and should have saved it. But the wall falls apart. They created an angle, an abnormal angle, if you know what I mean. You'd expect them to hit it first time or play it to one side, but he kind of back-heeled it, and it confused everybody. 2-0, and then from that, they just managed it out. That's when the tidy footballers could get on the ball. They didn't have to do much running. They just had to pass amongst themselves. Of course, Luiz gets withdrawn. Everybody goes mad at Ange again. You don't know what he's doing. And look, I was fuming at the time, but the reality is Luiz probably isn't fit. He probably isn't fit enough, and he was probably always going to play 60 minutes. And sometimes I think this is where we can get a little bit carried away on all of this. Football's full of opinion and people losing their crap over everything. But the reality is that at times you think he could have been in a job. I look at Ange's tenure, and it was always going to be tough coming into 4 away games. And I felt that from day one. I thought this is not gonna end well. And it's not just people who probably say, "Oh well, he has to play who he plays." I get it. You have to go out there, but it's not just playing 4 Premier League games away of similar ability, teams of similar ability, and trying to work on your best team and picking them 4 weeks in a row. You've got an away trip to Swansea where naturally you might rest 1 or 2 and you might bring this player in, and then that all blew up in his face when it shouldn't have. People said we played brilliant in the first half, Ange ball. When you look back in reflection, it wasn't Ange ball, was it? It was the fact we was a Premier League team and they was a Championship team. And again, yes, he probably did start instilling his tactics. I'll give him Arsenal. Swansea, he probably did start instilling them, but it was actually the fact we were a Premier League team. And look, I'm not defending him because I didn't want him, and I don't want him now, and I'm glad he's gone in so many ways. But those Swansea things happened. That last goal they scored. But my point was, before I went off like that, was it was 4 away games of varying sort of contrasting styles. Will he play this player? Will he rest the team? Will he do this? Like I say, if he had 4 Premier League games, you'd expect him to start working on his best team from day one. International breaks, players away. I saw some crazy stat that he probably only actually worked with players for about 20 days, in all this time. Or it might have even been less than that. But again, you go on to Burnley. Yes, we created a lot of chances. The Burnley one was the one I really felt we saw some Ange ball, in the sense that we come out the ground and we couldn't breathe, because it was end to end and you didn't know whether it was lottery football. And then, of course, Betis, you think, wow, we've kind of landed on something. But again, all these styles probably didn't help when it comes to the routine of just actually trying to win football matches. You come after Betis, it just went completely wrong. I was fuming with the team selection against Sunderland. Where
It
they
was.
completely disregarded the opposition and they disregarded the league, and that's what this could be a real killer in a few weeks, and as the season goes on. So the Sunderland game, he got it all wrong in terms of selection. I can't give him any credit for that. I was having many arguments afterwards with people defending him,
You
saying,
always argue,
"Look, I
Des.
tried
You
to
always
defend
argue.
him.
You
I
always argue.
wanted to defend him. I don't like the media narrative on him." But then Sunderland, you know, then we got Newcastle, well, Midtjylland, and that was just a disaster. We didn't really see anything that was going. Then Newcastle, I felt we started to see a few signs in the first half. We hung in there, and then again against Chelsea. So I don't necessarily think he's the worst manager in the world, as bad as I thought he was before he came. But the situation just didn't suit him at Forest. Coming in on the back of Nuno, it's so hard coming in on someone who's been relatively successful, and who's had a fallout. If Nuno, yes, people will point to the fact Nuno had lost matches and the team was on the decline. Perhaps Nuno saw the light at the end of the tunnel. Perhaps he saw this coming and wanted to keep his reputation intact. Who knows? But it was hard following him. It was hard in those first four games. That contrasting style. The weather played a part at Swansea and Burnley and things like that. And it does on an individual basis. What you can't legislate for is not winning football matches. And over 8 games, I made the point on my pre-match thoughts yesterday on Twitter that Ange in his press conference had been alluding to the fact that his first 10 games at Spurs didn't matter. They sort of swept it under the carpet when he'd done really well. But all of a sudden, the first 10 games matter now. The reality is whether you're a winner or not, and whether you've done well for Forest, Cooper, Nuno, you don't win 8 games in a row and you're under pressure. It's as simple as that. Yeah, and it didn't seem that he got used to that. And just one other thing on his tenure at Forest, which I can't really sort of grasp, it's just his attitude towards the job. I get. Look, the press have been hard on him, and they're obsessed with him. They're obsessed because he's not English and he's not European. They're absolutely obsessed because it's someone different. They think, oh well, he can't do it, and then all the fans get this hype, but he didn't help himself. And it's not about embracing the city and embracing this and embracing Forest. That comes. Nuno wasn't like that. Nuno come in, he was very sort of grumpy and quiet or appeared to be that way, until things started going well, until we got a few performances on the board, and that would have come with winning. But it was just his this thing about winning. Prove you're a winner before you say it. And he has to some degree. He's won trophies. But again, it doesn't matter whether you won trophies. Steve Cooper got promotion. Nuno nearly took us to the Champions League. You don't win football matches, you're gone, because that's the nature of football and this football club in particular. So people can never go at the owner, and I'll say what I think at times, but people can never go at the fact he's got sacked and the owner's pulled the trigger. And it seems to be a big thing on TV. He didn't get enough. Let's go for Marinakis. It doesn't matter which football club you're at. If you're on that sort of record, and let's go back to the beginning of the season. We was absolutely buzzing, absolutely like dreaming of what could be this season.
Expectations. Everyone's expectations got a bit too high. Do you think?
I don't think they got too high. That again, it's football, isn't it? You take the rough with the smooth, and as football fans, we've watched a lot of crap, and we all realise, 25 years, we deserve it. Well, we don't actually deserve it. You deserve to be where you are in the football league based on the latest set of results. And I think after last season, the signings all look really positive. The first game of the season, absolutely brilliant against Brentford. But you look at that now, and Brentford was a team in big transition at that time, and are actually doing okay. But I don't think the expectations got too far because the owner creates this. The owner wants this. He tells everybody we always win. He fought off Daniel Levy for Morgan Gibbs White. He went and signed Douglas Luiz. He tells Nuno he wants a better style of football. So this is where the expectation comes from. It's all right saying fans get a bit carried away, but the owner drives this, takes all the credit for the good stuff that happens in the football club, rightly so, because he's been amazing for our club. But he also drives the narrative at times, and that's what he wants. So we're allowed to expect, especially when you go out to Betis and play the way you did, the Michelin game before, the hype before that, we should be beating teams like Michelin. Simple as that. With the amount of money we spend. But again, it comes down to the fact that there's something wrong, with the whole appointment of Postecoglou, and we don't know what players think and how they react to him. They were saying the right things. Andrew was saying the right things about their application, but in reality, it's got to be better. Forest was built on a strong defence, and again, the biggest criticism was the way Andrew's messed about with that. Look, I don't know what, but something weird has happened with Murillo and Ange. I think they fell out personally.
Did you see Murillo's tweet when he liked to tweet, didn't he, when Ange left?
Yeah, I won't read too much into that because he likes a lot of tweets.
He likes everything. That's the thing. That's why he likes every single tweet.
But that's probably some sort of automated thing. But the reality is I think something happened between Murillo and Ange in that first game at Arsenal where he wasn't happy, and then all of a sudden that solid bedrock that we built this team on. Of course, I know as well. Throw that into the first 4 games away, the weather, this, that, and all these things that went against him. I know he's massive in this team. I know he's massive under Nuno. If we lost Aina, and it's not just a right back. Of course, you like to think you can replace one player, but it's the way we use Nico. It's the solid back 4. Aina and Nico are good defenders first and foremost, unlike Zinchenko and Savona. They're slightly better going forward, but Nico and Aina are brilliant. Not better than Nico and Aina, but they're better than themselves defending, if you know what I mean. That we've just got in Nico and Aina 2 all-round better players that defend better than the ones that have been in the team. So you've got that bedrock there, and that's where it's all gone wrong for me. You looked at Seville, and apart from Murillo, you would say that's the best 11. That is the 11. And the worrying thing for me, and I know we're not talking about signings as such, the really worrying thing is all those signings that come in, and whenever Forest have looked their best, Seville mainly, first half, is, and I said it before Seville, all they really had to do into Nuno's team was drop, and this is partly Nuno's fault, so before anyone shoots me down,
shoot him down, people. Shoot him down, people.
Just drop in Louise. Just drop in Louise in that team. For Sangare, and then watch it flourish. Yes, the fullback situations handicapped him. Murillo and whatever was going on there is another thing. But in Nuno's team, after that Brentford game especially, Nuno, and again, Nuno should have been jumping through hoops when he signed Douglas Luiz. He should have thought, wow, what a player he's given me here. And I just feel something systemically has gone wrong here in the whole thing. You talk about our expectation. This is how I started on this little rant. You spoke about our expectation. It's not our expectation we need to temper. It's the owners, because he went out and splashed all his money on players to make us a better, more attractive football team. I don't give a shit how we win. If we win 1-0 or 7-0, 1-0 playing brilliant or 7-0 playing pragmatic like we did against Brighton, it doesn't really matter at the end of the day, because all we want is the success and to be going home happy. And yesterday was just, for me, a sign of how much it's dropped so soon. Look, I love Forest, I talk about Forest constantly, I tweet about it, I put stuff on social media. But again, I got there kind of like, because we knew what was going to happen, and that's the worst thing as a football fan. All we really ask for is to be not going through the motions, because some of it's going to be crap, some of it's going to be good, and we live for the good days. But again, I don't think that can be labelled as in that sense, because ultimately the club wants to drive forward. I get that. I totally get that. But I said when Postecoglou come in, consistency wins out at the end of the day. It doesn't matter who the manager is. You can have the most pragmatic manager in the world. You give him 4 or 5 years, you're probably going to be in a better position than someone who's changed every 6 months because they've got this better manager. And it's just a bit. I don't. We can all hark back to the change, with Nuno, but it's gone now. Get over it.
Yeah.
But the choice, it all boils down to the choice and the way that choice came in and just it didn't go for him to some degree, but he also played his part in his own downfall.
100%. There's quite a lot of comments there I'm going to go through. And with Graham, we held Chelsea to 0-0, but we're celebrating it. 100 players not played. Glad to see him gone. Michael said, called score before the game, mates. Agreed with written all the walls. No passion from players. And fans like tactics didn't work at all. Michael says, and he's a member to the channel. Thank you, Michael, for being a member. And he's a championship level who can manage the cup competitions, not Premier level. I think Graham again. 8 without a win, 18 conceded. Ain't should never more than a Sunday pub side. You should turn it into a laughing stock. With Cal, Angelo was all he wanted was a trophy. Nothing about the team. Self-concentrated, arrogant, and couldn't take him seriously. Ollie, my friend, I hope you're well. Saw a long video when we saw Spurs saying he's not interested at all set pieces. Yeah, I think that was not mad. Have you seen it, Des?
What's that?
He spoke about he doesn't care about set pieces. I'll send you the link. I'll send you the link. I saw it last night. I thought it was wow. It was mad, but we can't see the 10 set pieces under him. That's crazy talk. Apparently, the manager shouldn't have that mental. I sent you that. It was. I couldn't believe what he was saying. Basically, he was saying he doesn't care about set pieces.
But this Dore was why before we came to Forest, and I have seen 1 or 2 bits. I can't lie. I've seen 1 or 2 things to not think it quite so much, but this is why I thought it was a fraud, because you didn't see anything. We don't watch him as much, but you didn't say anything. Do you know what? And it's easy to say now, I know, but he's obviously managed Celtic. He's obviously managed a successful Japanese team. You can say when you manage those type of teams, I don't care about set pieces, because they get nowhere near your goal.
Yeah.
The opposition get nowhere near your goal, and he'll go and get a job. I saw someone say he'll get a job in Turkey or somewhere. He will. He'll probably get the best team in one of these Eastern European leagues, or it won't be in a top league, or in some sort of obscure place, Qatar or somewhere like that. If he gets the best team, he'll win and win and win, because managers do well at really good teams like Celtic and get hounded out because the football's crap, because they win every week anyway. So that's the kind of club he needs, isn't it? And that's where you can say, I don't care about set pieces. Look, the biggest issue, and I've spoke about Forest defending and how it all messed up around him. But the biggest issue was he wanted players to play higher up the pitch. That's okay when you've got Mickey van der Ven, who's the fastest player in the Premier League. You can play man-to-man with Romero and van der Ven. And when you've got all the attacking talents they've got, when you've got Murillo and Milenkovic, whose game is not based on pace, and Morata, who's been a big feature, got it all wrong, hasn't it? Because they can't play one-to-one, one-on-one. That's just not their game. And look, they're not the biggest culprits in everything that's gone off themselves, but already things become unnatural. The passing in certain positions become unnatural on the pitch. So he can come out with all that kind of nonsense about defending. To be honest, I don't think he gave a crap much about defending at all, did he?
No.
And that's where the Ford comment come in. So I know I've said 1 or 2 slightly positive things, but I was really, really against him coming in, and I was absolutely gutted when he did. But yeah, I see it. You know, although what we have to say is, yesterday at Newcastle, he obviously did care about that kind of stuff. You know, because he tried to do something to plug some gaps. Yesterday, he was trying to hang in there for as long as he could, and then I think he wanted it at 0-0. And this shows how far we've actually dropped, because even Nuno was a bit more adventurous than this. It's like the typical cup shock. You hang in there for 80 minutes, you know, and then all of a sudden you put your fast wingers on and that kind of thing, and you nick a game 1-0, and we shouldn't be in that position, you know, already, especially.
Like I said, anymore. I think Ollie said another one. Doesn't hit the nail on the head. Beat Brentford playing one touch pass, move forward. Now it's static, and it seems to be struggling to know what we're doing, where to be, and how to get forward. 100% on that with Ollie. Michael said he's good with defence and attacking too much, so players is wrong. Players like we don't know where it's meant to be. For the managers, like they don't know what to do on the bench. Like I said, Kevin said, Marcus over Mancini. We'll talk to guys later on about who's he want as a manager. And again with Graham, how can you not care about set pieces, throw-ins, corners, set pieces, pens? It must be first game. Yeah. Like I said, people in the park, have you seen it? Newcastle fan, I've seen it. Gobby, no, Gobby, St. James. Have you seen the video? At the end, he says, I don't care about set pieces. I think, of course, what the like Jonah's I've got a job, and they're trying to be negative as possible. So, and I think he was just being sarcastic. I think he was being more sarcastic than anything. And when he's put, I don't care about set pieces, that threw me a little bit. So, Des, I was asking people as well before you do hit the like button and subscribe, and a massive shout to my sponsor, Allo Hullage and Fire. They put the thing up as well. They said that they're a Nottingham-based company. They are supporting my channel to the end of the season. So anyone want to support from Adam, like I said, he's kindly supported my channel. So shout out to Adam for the support as well. Des, I said this today in the podcast, and like I said, he is one of the worst free managers. And people in the chat as well, asked Des, since a Forest fan, is Ange in the top 3 worst managers since you've been a Forest fan?
Wow, he's got some competition for that, hasn't he?
People in the chat, get involved. Who's your worst 3 managers? Please get involved. 39 people in, come on, get involved. Who's your worst 3 Forest managers?
Wow.
It's quite a lot in the day. Quite a lot.
Look. Based on his results at Forest and what he's done at Forest, he's in Forest's worst 3 managers, because he has to be, because he's not won a football match. So at least other managers have won football matches. But like I said, I don't think he's in the worst 3 managers we've ever had. But on his performance at Forest, he has to be. You know, I've watched his under Joe Kinnear, for God's sake. You know,
no, but he wasn't. No, let me give Joe Kinnear. It wasn't bad when he come in. He was unbeaten for 17. Was it 17 games? He lost 1.
I felt sick every week watching it.
No, but it wasn't bad, Jazz. No. It wasn't. He lost 1 game.
No, and this is the one thing. So okay, right? It wasn't bad for the first few games. So where he edges it on Ange is he got a new manager bounce. But after that, it was an absolute.
He was. Second season, he was.
It's interesting that the first manager I mentioned, when I think of other managers, is Kinnear, because Postecoglou reminds me of him with his attitude, his Spurs connections, and all that, and all the crap that comes out of his mouth. You know, but Kinnear, Cotterill, he was shocking.
Oh no, he was Des. No. Come on, no, Des. No. Cotterill.
We didn't score for 10 games.
We won 7-3 against Leeds away. Come on, that's a proven point.
Oh, we won 7-3. Did that get us promoted that one game?
People in the chat. No. People in the chat. What's Cotterill that? It wasn't that bad. It's worse than him.
It was shocking. It was the worst football I've ever seen in my life. It was worse than Joe Kinnear.
It wasn't that bad. Not as you say it is.
Worse than Joe Kinnear. It was the most depressing time to be. 10 games. I went to a whole 10 games where we didn't score a goal. It was unbelievably bad. So you're talking to me about crap managers? I've not even got to Megson.
That's what.
Jesus Christ!
I've not put Cottrell there. I thought Cottrell was all right. To be fair, he kept us
was
up. No, he
shocking.
kept us up, Des. He kept us up, didn't he? He kept us up.
No, so some of the players that he got on low, he got lucky. You know, it happens. You know, look. Anyway, this is irrelevant, but
It is relevant, Des. You can't put right.
in terms of, to answer your question, in terms of Forest performance, Ange Postecoglou is the worst Forest manager ever. In terms of managers, then them others are just
all right. So they were the three worst managers you feel then.
Well, I've just said three. There's more.
What?
There's plenty more.
Ange, Megson, and who? Cottrell.
Cottrell.
Wow, he's put Cottrell there now. What about?
Do you want me to go on?
McLeish? McLeish was bad.
McLeish?
Yeah, McLeish was bad. Who else was bad? He was bad. Who else was there? Platt? No. I've seen this. They showed David Platt. The ex-players liked his management, but as fans, we didn't do it.
I know we're not onto the managers yet, but anyone who gets excited about Mancini, the first thing that comes into my mind when I think Mancini is Platt, and I think I can't. Look, he might be great. I can't swallow it.
Dad, he's not there. He's not there. Make me clear. Platt is not there. He's in where is he? I think he's in Saudi Arabia or China.
I know he's not with him, but he's worked with him and
he's worked with him. But okay,
I know you can't beat him with that stick. But even so, first thing that comes to my head.
Oh, there's people in the chat. Like I said, I've told us who's your worst free managers, and if you didn't see yesterday's show, who is your worst free manager? I'll say mine. I put Megson. You've got to put Ange there. Ange is got to be there, and I'll say McLeish. McLeish was
on Forest performance. The worst manager is Ange. The next one is McLeish, and then the next one is Megson.
Yeah,
and then Megson and Kinnear. Look, Cottrell did get some wins, so again, but
he
the
beat Leeds 7-3. Come on, that's the.
Oh, let's party 20 years later because we beat Leeds 7-3.
It's a massive statement. We beat him 7-3. No, I'm not going to keep him. We can argue about this all over again. People, if you disagree,
that anyway. I've got a tiny story about that. I was due to go, and I was coming home from work to get a lift, and I lost my mobile phone. Right, so I was frantic about my phone, and I had to go to Central Police Station in town because the taxi driver had dropped it off.
Yeah,
and I missed that 7-3, so I've erased it.
Oh, that's why. Then that's why.
This is why. Fuming I was.
This is why.
Fuming amongst all those goalless games, I missed 7-3.
Oh days! And like I said, there's quite a long. There's McLaren. We keep forgetting about McLaren. This is we've had so many.
There was so many.
McLaren, Atkinson. Yeah, Atkinson was rubbish as well.
Houghton.
Oh, we forgot about who? How can we forget about Houghton? Look, dear, he was. Yeah, see, I mean, there's so much crap we've had there as far as fans, and yeah, that's one. Shout out to Ollie for that. Right, people in the chat. Right, so look, I've done a poll, and like I said, there's been so many. There's been so far since Ange's been sacked. There's been 3 managers been linked with Forest. We've had Dyche. We've got Mancini, we've got the other Italian guy. And I'm going to get Des' opinion on who he wants to be in. And people in the chat, who would you want? Be realistic. Silva. Forgot about Silva as well. I've been bantering with Alan. Alan, I am coming to London to take Silva. I'll come on my push bike. Des.
You're going to woo him with a coffee.
Costa coffee, yeah, whatever. Des, shut up, Des, come on, as a fan, and people in the chat will get involved. Who would you want at Nottingham Forest and why?
Look, I think what we need to do before we sort of get into the crux of who I want is realise that some of them we're not going to get. Do you know, people talking about Glasner and Iriola and all these people, we're not going to get those because right now their stock is as high as it can be, and they're probably waiting for the Man U job You know, in all reality, because he can't, he won't be lasting much longer after today anyway, probably. But so I can't even get my mind. Yes, of course I'd like one of those, but I can't get my mind thinking because again, if anything, I try to be pragmatic and realistic. Do you know? And I'm not all out for Sean Dyche, for example. Do you know? I'm not losing my shit over, oh, we could get him, but I see the positives in what he could bring. You know, particularly in the predicament we're in, particularly on this defensive bedrock, what we've managed to make a complete hash of over the last 2 months. You know, so I see real positives in that. I also see a positive in Dyche, in the fact that what Forest need now, and I said it for a lot of weeks again on my stuff. We need a spark. We need a real spark. You know, just even if we're not winning, we need to feel like we're competing. We need to feel like there's something going on around the club. And I think the best thing is Dyche got the job, and I know I'm sort of he hasn't, but the best thing he could do is elevate Woan and Stone into the whole thing, because they play a quiet part with Dyche. You get some assistants like Jason Tyndall with Eddie Howe who are quite active and lively, whereas Woan and Stone tend to sort of just sit in the background a bit. But I think if Dyche come in, the best thing he could do, we've got Europe this week. If he came in this week, is get Woney and Stone out there. The club should be showing all their goals from that last European
Yeah.
time, you know, and that could give the club the spark and the excitement again, and get the City ground. No, I don't think we'll get to the level pre-Michelin, but get it back up again and get everybody excited. So I see a real plus in that, you know, and potentially a new manager spot. Of course, there's the negatives in that you worry about the attacking players and how we're going to play, you know, and that kind of thing. You know, I'm not saying he couldn't adapt, because I think he can. I think he's a much better manager than people give him credit for. But we do know that the club were looking to go in a different direction, and it seems that taken sort of one step forward to take two back in terms of taking that step. So I do see pluses in Dyche. I don't want Mancini. You know, I think he's dated now. No, not just because of the Platt thing. I think when he sort of moved on, you started to see after City, you know, that it all become a little bit dated, and it happens with. I think the Italian mindset. It's not suited to the modern game. You know, and of course, football is about contrast and different styles, and we love that under Nuno. But I just think that is sort of he's just a little bit dated. He's been successful, you know. So I'm not a fan of Mancini.
He did win the
Silva,
Premier League. Yeah, he did win the Premier League. And what else did he win? He won the World Cup. Did he win the World Cup? Really? Or European? One of the two? I
yeah,
don't know.
look, and that's what I'm saying. I just think since then it's a bit dated. Do you know? He won it with Manchester City. Look, I'm not taking. You still got to win it. You know, this man Pep hasn't won it every season with Manchester City, but Manchester City was on that upward curve, weren't they? And that they got rid of him. You know, as soon as he didn't, I just think I did. He went to Leicester, didn't he?
Mancini? Did he go Leicester? No, did he? People in chat, did he go Leicester? I don't know.
I
Did he
can't
go?
remember. He might have been linked.
No, I don't.
Anyway, it just seems like I don't know what justification would give him the job. Do you know? I don't know what he's done
Oh, he
recently. I
did.
don't know.
He did. He went Leicester for 4 games.
Well, exactly. But I thought he had. But I don't know
Oh
what
no,
he's
he
done
played
in
for him.
recent.
No, not management. He played for him 4 games. Not he didn't
Oh, okay.
manage him. He managed him.
I don't know what he's done recently to justify him being linked with a. I was going to say top Premier League job. Well, every job in the Premier League is top. I'm not saying top off. So I don't. He could come in and be a real success, and I could be talking absolute nonsense. Silva, obviously out of the three, the one that kind of gets us a little bit more excited is Silva. And the reason he gets me excited is not what I've seen recently. I remember when we got promoted alongside Bournemouth, and I felt from sort of from that first few months in the Premier League, he just put together a proper football team. You know, not a team that's going to go and win every week. They tend to beat the teams they should and lose to the teams they should as well. You know, but it's a proper solid football team is Fulham. On the day they're exciting. They've got some real talents. And they tend to find these bargain defenders who do such a good job for them. So I just think he's just a proper football manager who can build a football team. But then that poses the risk, doesn't it, of he's got to be able to build it, because the club's in a bit of a mess at the moment. Yes, they've got the nucleus of talent, underperforming talent, and I'm sure we'll get a better tune out of them than the last guy. So that one sticks out to me as the most likely, I guess. But again, I saw something earlier. Will he be willing to join Forest? He's got to agree to it first. Someone says Marinakis' mate got 39 days. If he comes and he don't hit the ground running, if he don't win for 8 games, and this is what I've seen a lot on the TV over the last sort of 24 hours, is that the benchmark now? 8 games. If you don't win in 8 games, you're gone. And I guess it has to be. Not that it should be, not that I believe it's the way, but we can't go another 8 games and do exactly what we've done in the last 8, because we would really be in trouble. So for me, I think out of the 3, if I could cherry pick one, it'd be Silva. If we got Dyche, I wouldn't be totally against it. I just think he brings a bit of
stability.
We're in this together kind of thing back to the club. And he got a lot of stick at Everton. He done a really good job, in keeping them up initially. And the one thing with Everton, I just always felt, and I might be speaking out of turn, but I felt his heart was never in it. And that's not. I think he was professional, and he did what he had to do, and he managed the club, and he got them through PSR and points deductions and things like that, which people forget. But I just felt he was never really sort of 100% committed. We know he lives locally. We see him about. I see him at the gym most mornings. But
ask him, Des. Just cheeky ask him. He coming Forest. That's what I'm going to ask him.
Oh yeah, I'm sure he's going to tell me. No, but yeah. Look, Dyche won't be a bad choice for the predicament, but it makes me laugh. All these Forest fans, and I know I've just made some positive comments. All these Forest fans last week or the week before going, let's go and get Dyche, let's go and get Dyche. All the ones who didn't want Ange. I think if you had this choice 12 months ago, Ange or Dyche, you'd go Ange every day of the week, wouldn't you? Because his stock was high. And this is the same with, we're not going to get Iriola or Glasner until they've gone off the boil. Until Palace go on.
Let me ask you, Des. Like we mentioned, like when we got back to the Premier League, like Steve Cooper did a great job for us, and he was like low block football. I hate the term low block, defensive. We've got Nuno. He come to Forest, and he wasn't like attacking football. A few Forest fans, I'm not saying all Forest fans, a few Forest fans wanted that all attacking football, blah blah blah. We got Ange, who all he did was attack, but it didn't work at Forest. But if we got like, I don't know, Dyche, who comes to Nottingham Forest, and he's not like attacking football. Are Forest fans going to moan about if he plays low block football, but we win games? Are we going to? That's what I don't. It's good to have this conversation, because what was you in the comments as well, people? Would you moan about playing low block football but winning games? That's right.
The problem is, Dore, is the state of the modern fan, isn't it? So I have got this rant in me. Is we're fourth in the Premier League or third in the Premier League, and we lose at Aston Villa. Yes, I'll accept the rut set in a little bit after, But when we lost to Aston Villa, for example, that was the kind of start of it, And we played really well second half. We played with as much attacking intent as I've seen us under Nuno in that second half. We absolutely battered them, and I can't believe that we didn't score. But then you come out and you go on social media, and everyone's going, "Oh, it's rubbish," we're too defensive. It's this, it's that, it's all these things. Well, it's not, is it? Sometimes you lose football matches because that's what happens. Sometimes the team's better than you and sometimes they're not. So the fans all go up in arms, and particularly vocal ones who've got a platform, when really just sometimes you have to take defeat on the chin. But then the owner starts seeing all this stuff, and people around the club and people in the media love it. They love all this crap. Of people shouting and bellowing. I can't get nowhere near it because I like to be pragmatic and talk about it. But no one's interested in that anymore because they want the noise. They want people who are going to make it controversial. And then when the owner sort of latches onto that, he thinks the fans want something else. No, what we wanted Nuno to start the season better than we finished last season, start winning football matches again, and we'd have all been singing his name, no matter how deep or how much possession we had. We'd have all just taken it. The problem was it did start well, and then it dropped off, and then all the noise started, and that's why really we dropped off, because everyone just went, "Wow, what's going on here?" And that's where people then start sort of questioning everything that goes on, and that's why sometimes you just got to accept where you are and where you're at. Be realistic. Yes, Forest form had dipped. If Nuno would have had this run, what Ange Postecoglou is, I wouldn't have argued with anyone about sacking him. Because that's what happens. But all the noise around Nuno, everyone's got an opinion on this argument. It's none of our business. The Edu Nuno argument, yes, it gets put out there and we make it our business. But really, because everyone's got an opinion, everyone's sticking up for Marinakis, everyone's got to stick up for Nuno or this or that. It doesn't really matter, does it? Because all that we care about, all that we can do best is support a team to win football matches. And that's where it's all gone a bit crazy with styles of football. You've got pundits who, look, some of them talk nonsense sometimes, but in general, people were saying they love watching Forest last season. Because we love the contrast. We love the difference in how there's more than one way to skin a cat, so to speak. We love the way we come out of the Liverpool game last year, and I'd been a bit uneasy with Nuno until a point. I come out of the Liverpool game and I went masterclass. You could see it when you can see it, like when you can see a manager's plan and you can sort of read it through the game as a fan, because we have got a bit of knowledge, we have watched it a long time. It's like the most amazing feeling, and you think we've got the right man for the job. And we saw that quite a lot. We saw things happen. What killed us was injuries, depth of squad. Yes, and then Nuno himself, along with the rest of the people at the club, killed us because they fell out with each other. But if they could have sorted that out, then I'm sure we won't be in this position now. So it's about winning football matches. It doesn't really matter who's in charge, and what style of play there is. Yes, we'll all have our opinions. We all want a good one, a so-called good one. But you never know. You just never know what's going to happen. If Ange came in and they won 2-0 at Swansea and one got another goal at Burnley, all of a sudden, two very winnable games goes to Betis and we hold on there. He's won 3 out of his first football matches, exclude Arsenal. Sunderland then becomes a different story, doesn't it? And Midtjylland, 2 very winnable games. But you're talking about style of football here. Look at Sunderland. My point on this is everybody hated Steve Cooper. Nuno wasn't that much different. Just the results were different.
This is my problem, Des. It wasn't much difference to Steve Cooper, and he still gets bashes from that 5%.
But all Cooper was trying to do was play like Sunderland are now. Sunderland are getting battered. They're getting battered but winning, particularly at home. Because they've got that winger guy. I can't think what his name is, but they're having to soak up a lot of pressure, and they're not technically very good. They're just working their socks off, and they're fighting and scrapping. And this is what Cooper was trying to achieve. This guy's getting all the plaudits in the world because they've got like so many points, and it looks like they might not get relegated this season. At some point the bottom's going to fall out of it playing that type of football. because it happened to us. You know, 1 or 2 injuries, a bit of depth goes. So again, there's more than one way, and all you have to do is adjust to the situation you're in at the time. And that again with the Postecoglou, we didn't do that. What I see in the people you've mentioned, apart from the fact I don't know enough about Mancini, is I see guys who could probably go into a football club and be a bit more willing and accepting of the tools they've been given, you know, to get us into the right position in the league. I wouldn't. Look, we're in a. I accept we're in dire straits because I've just scared myself by saying if we have a similar record over the next 8 games, then we're going down basically. But I don't write the season off at the moment because I think there's too much in there. And again, the reason I mentioned Newcastle first half, Chelsea first half, even with him, you know, is because goals change football matches.
100%. Last but not least, we're nearly up. Well, I know, like I say, it's early days, man, and can we, like, whoever manager is, like, can we get out of this mess? Because I said at the start of the season, and some people have expectations. Like I said, I think entitlement, that's the word. Or everyone assumes that we finished 7th, we're gonna be again 7th, blah blah. Now Nuno's gone, Ange's gone now. The next manager is so important for Marinakis. Do you feel we're now in a we are in a relegation fight? Let's keep it real. Do you think this new manager Marinakis has got to get this right? Because if he doesn't, Marinakis, like I said, I don't want to turn on that guy because he's done so much good for us. He spent his money, and he said it in the Market Square. We've got playoff now. He wants the next step. Do you think he needs to get this one right now? Because if he doesn't, there's going to be not everyone. A few fans are going to be thinking, "Oh, now get this guy out." What's your opinion on it?
Look, you know as much as anyone, I've called some of the actions from the club and himself out over time. You know, even when we're winning, some of the actions are not acceptable. When everyone's having a go at pundits, and yes, Gary Neville's a knob, you know, we all know that. But some of the stuff he says sometimes is actually true. You know, some of the behaviour is not really, it's not couth and it's not really acceptable. You know, yes, I like the fact he's grabbed the club by the scruff of the neck and he's upset the likes of Neville, you know, because I felt for a long time Forest was an absolute pushover, whether it was mercenary players, you know, coming in on a high wage or managers like taking the mick, you know, Billy Davis springs to mind, and all these things, you know, Forest have been an absolute pushover and just wrong behind the scenes. So I liked his bullish style, but some of it is a bit too far. And I think the reason I mention this is because if we were losing football matches, he would never have got the support he's got. He's got the support because we've been on a massive upward curve. You know, again, it's the same with the manager. If the manager's winning when we're playing crap, he'll get all the support. If the owner's doing all sorts of things, look, we're a bit. People will shoot me to flames on this, but we're a bit of a laughing stock with the way we're in awe to Marinakis. You know, but we are because we appreciate everything he's given us back as a football club, an identity, you know, watching winning football matches, seeing Forest win away every week, you know, all these things that we put a lot of time, effort, energy, money into, you know, and so we really appreciate that. But on your point, you know, if he gets it wrong and they get relegated, there's only those vocal, noisy fans have been there. They've only been there a couple of seasons, most of them, so they don't know what it's like to be lingering around in the Championship, and they're not going to accept it, are they? They're not going to accept it. You can blame the next manager, you can blame the next manager after that, but ultimately, as I said right at the start, the guy rules the football club. You know, he rules everything down to our opinion of him. You know, and somebody said to me, and I don't necessarily believe it, but I see a point in it. He's been lucky with his managers. You know, nobody was fighting over Steve Cooper. Nobody. There weren't a clamour to get Cooper in charge, and Cooper actually got us promoted. It's as simple as that, because that wasn't Marinakis' money, because there was no investment when Cooper came in. We picked up some loans, but we already had Jed Spence, we already had Brennan Johnson. The players, but Cooper came in and changed the direction of the season. Yes, he got a bit of support in January, but the wheels were already in motion. We were flying up the table. Then when Nuno came in, yes, the team had been built to a level, but then when Nuno comes in, again, nobody was fighting over Nuno, and didn't quite hit the ground running. We had to scramble through that first season, got some support. I know it seems bizarre now. That Ward-Prowse signing was kind of a big thing, because it just shown that we were looking to move a level, even though it didn't work out. And now Nuno, for some reason, can't stand him. It just shown a change of direction of the fact he wanted to push us forward again. And then Nuno's tactics have won football matches. Because with that team, it wasn't working. The major investment that come over the last few windows in terms of the players that are coming to the team that weren't there when Cooper were there. So Cooper had that major investment and managed to keep us up. Nuno didn't have a massive investment initially. So again, look at the managers and how they've worked with the tools they've got, and what he's got to hope for is he's got to hope the next one, because one's gone wrong already, and it in the Championship for a few years there was managers who didn't work out. Martin O'Neill springs to mind. Karanka was never in his good books really. Lamucci didn't last very long, so it didn't have a great track record, and then the last two beforehand have been spot on. So the next one you'd think has got to be absolutely spot on as well, and that's why I think he might be thinking Marco Silva, building a team, that's competitive. You've got to be competitive in every game, and that's the word I should have used before. They play the big teams, they're competitive. They play the small teams, they're competitive. And I think he needs that. He needs somebody who is proven to that extent and proven over a bit of time. The thing with Ange, he weren't proven over very long. Nuno proved it, although he'd had a bit of a blip at Spurs. He proved at Wolves over a period of time, and that's where I think he needs to be looking, because you're right. Look, everybody gets turned on in football if they're not performing, and you know how it can be. We've been in there far worse. The fans, the Michelin game, people are going, I can't believe it was like that in the City ground. Well, where have you been for the last 20 years?
Yeah, exactly.
It's been like that every week, apart from the last two seasons. It's been horrible, vile, quiet, boring. But we're stupid and we still follow it because we're for the good times. So look, everybody gets turned on. So just to sort of shorten everything I've just said, yes, they will. If you don't get it right, I think it's a pivotal time for the club, and they keep saying it, and nobody really believes it yet. They can't go down, because again, we've got a squad of players who, it would reap a lot of money back. Players would be sold, and they'd be sold for good money, but they're losing value week on week at the moment. And if it carries on to the end of the season, the value goes even more. And then it doesn't become easy to replace players and get back up and stay up, and that's where you then fall into a yo-yo. That's why I do like Silva, and why I think it's probably the most likely option, because he experienced that yo-yo, and then all of a sudden he solidified the team. He got them moving bit by bit, and that's what Marinakis should have been looking at with Nuno.
100%. Right, before we do, like I said, obviously, massive thank you, Des, for taking your time for the channel. I've enjoyed this lunch break, lunch podcast as well. So, much shout out to Des. Like I said, Des, like I said, he does his, as you know, Des does his before and after game reactions. And if you do want to, you should, I think not, you should follow him on X, on Instagram. He's got 2 accounts on IG. His usual, his basic one, and his 4 of us travelled as well. But yeah, like I said, I've
I
got
like
a
a
show.
Sunday one. I like an early Sunday one, Dore, so I can have a pint on Sunday afternoon. I need it after that.
I think I'm on the orange juice, so I'm all right. But yeah, people, like I said, I've got a show later on, 9 o'clock with Dave and Pat. Like I said, people, when we do announce the manager, we'll get that on. See what our reactions from it as well. If he has time, because we know he does his running and all that. But yeah, like I said, we have to wait. Before doing it, there's one more member channel. Stefan needed quality manager, or we end up losing Anderson or Murillo. Whatever manager it comes in, whoever it is. But yeah, afternoon, Mark, hope you're well, my friend. But yeah, people, it is what it is. But like I said, if you agree with me or disagree with Des, put in the comment section now as well. And shout out to my sponsors as well, Adam Haulage Far and Wide, Nottinghamshire firm that has proudly sponsored my channel till the end of the season. But yeah, people, not doom and gloom. We're still, as Forest fans, we're going to see the ups and we're going to see the downs. But yeah, we're Forest fans. But yeah, before we do go, hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you tonight at 9 o'clock. Peace and love. Up the Forest.